Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Russia has committed and continues to commit unspeakable war crimes against the Ukrainian people during the conduct of this war. The United States is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, but Congress last year passed a law that made it very clear that we should provide intelligence and information related to these crimes to the International Criminal Court. And I'll quote, in the appropriations bill that passed late last year, it allows exceptions allowing for assistance with, quote, investigations and prosecutions of foreign nationals related to the situation in Ukraine, including to support victims and witnesses, end quote. And of course, the discussion around that and the debate around that made it very clear that congressional intent was for the IC to provide that information to the ICC. It's my understanding that there's debate within the administration, more specifically that the Department of Defense is preventing that assistance and that information from being relayed to the ICC, including a principals meeting that occurred on February 3rd, where there was debate about that. So, Director Haynes, is it your understanding that current law passed by Congress mandates the ICC provide, or the United States, the IC provide this information to the ICC in furtherance of investigations of Russian war crimes?
Thank you, Congressman. We absolutely, and I don't think there's any debate that we should be providing support to the ICC on Russian war crimes, as a general matter. What we do is we provide intelligence that can be provided to the ICC through the arms of the U.S. government that typically work with the ICC. So the State Department's War Crimes Issues Office, we don't do that directly, and I think it's really a question for them as to what exactly they're providing and whether or not.
So is it your understanding, Director, that there is information that is currently not being provided to the ICC that the intelligence community would like or otherwise would provide to the ICC that the Department of Defense and this administration is not allowed to be provided?
No.
So there's no dispute about that within the administration?
We provide it to the policy arms. They provide it to the ICC. I don't actually know exactly what they have provided.
So more specifically then, is it your understanding that the Department of Defense is holding up the provision of information or intelligence to the ICC?
No.
That's not your understanding?
It's not my understanding.
Okay.
I think
Director Burns, do you have an understanding one way or the other on this?
No, it's same as Director Haynes on the question you asked, sir.
Okay. The next question is about the assistance generally to Ukraine. There's a lot of debate within Congress right now and with the administration about both the quantity and the quality of the military assistance to Ukraine. My understanding is that Russia does not have the capability of any major offensives or breakthroughs currently in Ukraine, that they've been degraded sufficiently. So Director Burns, is that your understanding that in 2023 that the Russians couldn't conduct major offenses or have major strategic success in Ukraine?
Yes, sir. It's our judgment that the Russian military is capable of making incremental tactical gains, and they made some in the course of the offensive they've launched over the last 4 or 5 weeks in the Donbass in eastern Ukraine. But it is our collective assessment, I think, that for a whole variety of reasons that Director Haynes mentioned, munition shortages, morale problems, manpower problems, conflicts within their own military leadership, that they're unlikely to be able to make significant strategic breakthroughs or sustain them over the course of the rest of this year.
And is it your understanding that Vladimir Putin's strategy is to recapitalize the military, to consolidate support, and to rebuild his infrastructure so that he will be capable of making advances or strategic success within 2024 and 2025, that he's taking a longer-term view?
Yeah, I think Vladimir Putin is very much taking a longer-term view. I think he's doubling down in many respects right now. I believe he's convinced that he can make time work for him, that he can grind down the Ukrainians through this war of attrition, that he can wear down Western supporters of Ukraine. And he's convinced also, and has been for some time, that Ukraine matters more to him than to us. Therefore, the challenge, I think, is to puncture that view.
So given that, that decisions have to be made about relative risks and where risks lie, short-term risks versus long-term risks, would it be your best advice that we transition the nature of our support to look more towards hardening Ukraine and military modernization efforts that would look further out on the horizon than the shorter-term efforts?
Well, I avoid offering free policy advice in my current role these days. What I would say as a matter of intelligence assessment is that the next several months, the next 4, 5, 6 months are going to be crucial on the battlefield in Ukraine. I think any prospect for a serious negotiation, which President Putin I do not believe is ready for today, is going to depend on progress on the battlefield. Therefore, I think analytically, what's important is to provide all the support that we possibly can, which is exactly what the President and our Western allies are doing for the Ukrainians as they prepare for a significant offensive in the spring. And then at the same time, it's not really an either-or question, just as you said, Congressman, it's looking at the long-term security needs of Ukraine to help ensure a situation where Vladimir Putin's Russia is not going to try to mount another offensive or another invasion as they did at the beginning of last year.
Thank you. I yield back.